I went to this black box theater when I was about, I think I was probably 19. No, I was probably 18. And I can't ever remember if it was my freshman year of college or my senior year of high school. But I went to this theater, and it was about this. The play was about this guy who had gone to this town to write a book about all this weird stuff that was happening in this town. And essentially, the concept was at the edge of town, there was this house, and there was a tear in like the dimensionality or time continuum, and like all these creatures and things were moving through different dimensions, coming into this town and like, you know, fucking it up. And this was all happening in Black Box Theater, where like, you know, Black Box Theater is essentially like a single stage, nothing really moves, but all this stuff happens around you. And it was real impactful at the time, just like conceptually. I was like, whoa, that was cool. And when I think of the Interior Plane Project, that's what it means to me. It's not that we're in the Midwest, in the plains. It's that the Interior Plane Project is like, we're a vehicle and we're moving through these different dimensions. And that's where the pilot concept and the board concept comes from, is that, you know, there are riders and you can ride a board, but you pilot a board.
That was Peter Harvieux from the Interior Planes Project, and this is episode number 31 of the Not Snowboarding Podcast. I'm your host, Nate Mousson. Before we get into today's episode, a quick word from our sponsor. This episode, and all episodes really of the podcast, are sponsored by Shred Soles. Shred Soles are insoles that I designed specifically for snowboarding. They're canted to realign your ankles, knees, and hips to a more natural and balanced riding posture. And most importantly, they're super comfortable, right? We're running a preseason podcast special. You can use the discount code TNSP for 10% off and free shipping throughout the month of October during checkout at shredsoles.com. One more quick plug. Thank you to everyone that's been clicking through the Amazon banner ad located at the Not Snowboarding Podcast website before doing your shopping on Amazon. It kicks us a small commission on whatever you were going to buy anyways and doesn't cost you a thing. Please bookmark the page in your browser and keep us in mind as you start to do your holiday shopping. I have to tell you that up until we recorded this episode with Peter, AJ and I have been really lucky in not having very many technical difficulties. Well, we definitely made up for that with this one. It took the better part of a half hour to get all three of us on one Skype line, and then we lost AJ several times throughout the episode. Stay tuned at the end for some of the outtakes from some of the different connection challenges. Let's get into the conversation with Peter from the Interior Plane Project.
Working?
Pick up.
Gentlemen.
Hey.
It's a minor miracle, just on a Friday night.
We did it.
That was up there with the level of Skype difficulties that we've dealt with in the past. Usually it's more related just to like a bad connection.
Oh, yeah, no. Connection's good here. It's just weird Skype life. Skype life. Just Skyped in Austria yesterday.
What was going on in
Skype
Austria?
some Austrians?
Yeah, my buddy lives there. My best friend lives in Meyerhofen.
Your best friend?
Probably my best friend. Yeah.
Who's your best friend?
Brian Wolf.
Besties, dude.
Dude, we could talk about Wolf forever because you guys would probably want to go over and visit him as soon as we get off the Skype maneuver.
I'm trying to go to Europe.
Well,
I'm trying to, Europe would be tight.
Well, if you want to go to Meyerhofen, I got a spot.
The bagel spot?
No, well, it's not a bagel spot, but it's an English spot. He married a German who lived in England as well as New Zealand for a while. So she got this like English accent that's like English. It's pretty funny.
Sick.
So yeah, I was like, dang, this German chick's got an English accent. Wait, it's not English. It's English. Weird.
So it was a girl. I was wondering what would take him over there. I mean, besides the Alps.
Oh, dude, his story's probably, you should probably put him on this because his story's as interesting as anybody's in pro snowboarding, period.
Nate, can you fly me to Austria so I can interview?
Yeah. Do a face-to-face. Probably a good idea.
How about
how's the budget looking these days?
How do you feel about stowing away for like a big shipping container on a boat?
Yeah. The slow ship. I like that.
We
Is
can
that
get
what you
you
do
there.
your Shred Souls interns, Nate?
Exactly.
They got to go over there, inspect.
Bring the product back on the boat.
Exactly.
China.
PJ, man, so excited to talk with you, man. Thanks for coming on.
Oh yeah, thanks for having me.
Yes, thanks, thank you.
Yeah, so like I was telling AJ, Grom's here, wifey's here. Wifey's going out with sister, trying to depart at 7. Grom's here. She's 3 years, 7 months. I told her what was up. Hopefully she'll iPad.
Hey, you do your thing when if you gotta jump and something happens, that's fine. No worries.
Well, like I told AJ, you call me in the morning, we're going to talk all day. Call me right now,
Well,
he knows.
We could do that if need be on Saturday or Sunday or something.
Okay. Well, we'll figure it out. Let's go.
We can do a 2-day episode. You never know.
Ooh.
I'd be that first one, 2-parter.
Have you ever done a week-long episode? I'm in.
Just be a recurring
How
guest.
deep do you want to go?
What's your daughter's name?
I have so many things to ask you boys about too.
Ask us.
Well, yeah. Don't you know how this works?
You can ask us one question
on the Interior Plane Project podcast.
Oh, we've been hijacked. We've been podjacked.
Jack. Cool.
PJ was podjacking.
What's your Grom's name?
Adele.
And she's 3.5, you said?
Adele Rain Harvieux. Yeah. Yep. 3 years, 7 months.
Has she been on snow yet?
Yeah, in the backyard and stuff. We went down to the resort. I went to a shop called Zombie, and we went down to the resort last year and walked her up on the snow, and some ski dude fell in front of me, and I like helped him up, and she was kind of like, whoa, and then she saw the lift and like, that goes way up there, and like was really exciting and stuff. But I'm kind of like one of those cats that just kind of wants to let whatever happen.
Yep.
And like I grew up sliding with my mom, and I always have like enjoyed snow and winter and being outside in the winter, and like that's just growing up on a farm. It was just like what we did. And I'm not trying, I see a lot of dudes like, dude, can't wait till my kid turns 6 months and they're going to be snowboarding. They're going to be awesome. And I'm like, I guess, but I'm like, I see, running shop, and you probably know this too, Nate, from running shop for so many years, but like watching like kind of metamorphosis of like kids who come in wanting to snowboard because they're like super interested in it, to like the people coming in because their parents are like really interested in them doing it, and like how that kind of changes it. And for me, it's just really weird. I just like, I don't know, when I think of life, I'm just like, ooh. Like,
well, you can see it. You can see it from a million miles away in that, because it's the dad or the mom, usually the dad, who's the one who's doing all the talking for the kids, and he's more stoked about snowboarding than the kids are. And you can see it in their posture. Nowadays they're like on their phone texting their friends while their dad's in there, talking to the shop guys like most normal kids are.
Yeah, hooking them up like, all right, dude, you're going to be killing it out there.
Yeah.
Styling, bro. Don't worry about it. We'll get you doing front boards in next week.
There's no snow to even do that. So
no, and it's cool. Like, I am mad at parents. Like, I get it. Being a parent, like parenting's insane. So,
dude, I bet. I see a lot of that as like them being excited and wanting to encourage their kids, which, their heart's in a good place, but it's like, I don't know.
Yeah, but you kind of encourage your, when I look at it and you strip it back, and it's like, well, are you encouraging your own dreams, or are you encouraging and fostering their dreams? And it's like, it's okay for those things to be different. It doesn't have to be the same. And just because I'm super into something and like, it's been a part of, my life since I was really young, and it's like kind of like a fabric of my being. That doesn't mean that it's hers or that it needs to be hers. She can find her own thing on her own. My biggest thing is trying to foster like independence, intelligence, perspective, understanding, courtesy, politeness. Like there's so much lack of moral code, I think, in parenting when I go out. And I'm not like sitting in my house, especially in the winter. I'm out there like interacting with people, and I talk to kids on chairlifts like all the time, and like it's interesting. And I'm just doing my best, and everyone's just trying to do their best. But for me, it's like, yeah, snowboarding's my thing, and if she loves it too, then awesome, and we can do it together. And if she decides that she's not interested in winter, my wife's not that interested in winter. She's like kind of pissed off all winter, and I'm kind of pissed off all summer, and we just like flip flop.
Well, she's super lucky to have someone in her corner that, regardless of what she gets into, is going to be down for it and be willing to like help her through it. Because, I mean, we kind of rehashed it over here with the kids with the skate coach dads, but think about what a neat experience that's going to be for you too. You're going to be able to continue to learn and get into something else that you wouldn't have known of otherwise.
Well, and I can only hope, and it's like, I just want her to be able to pick and choose her own path. And that's always kind of been important to me, is like kind of people do to the best of their ability or the best of their desire, to just kind of like figure things out on their own. Like I figure a lot of things out on my own, and I kind of landed where I landed, whatever, and, just trying to give her the best foundation that I can.
There's definitely a independent DIY spirit that comes from skating and snowboarding, so that I can see that even as a parent, like you wouldn't want to force things on people because, I mean, I speak for myself. I was super interested in snowboarding and skateboarding because I was discovering it on my own, and it was like, dude, this is really cool. It's like my own thing. It's my own world, and not a lot of people are into it.
Yeah, definitely. And I mean, I mean, in a town of 3,000 people in Western Wisconsin in 1986, in 2.5 miles out of town on a farm with, rough, some like pavement everywhere, and one, newer, soft tar cul-de-sac, where my, 9-year-old friend Chad Lamone turned me on to skateboarding when I was 10. It's like you're just, nothing, and you're just doing it, and it's, it's all new and it's all exciting. And, for us at that time, like Thrashin' the movie was our, skateboard movie. That was like, we rented that from the video store on the weekends, every weekend, to get hyped to go skate. Like that's, being the small town we were in. So like at that time, I know some kids, I was talking to somebody else, and they were saying that they could rent Paul Peralta, like Search of Animal Chin and that stuff at their local video store.
Wow, no way.
Yeah, and we couldn't get that, so it was like Thrashin'. That was it. Daggers, Valley Boys, like that was, that was what our, small town perception of this California whatever style was, and it was launch ramps and Jimmy Z shorts and tank tops, and it was like jean jackets and jeans, and like we were just like skull skates and Vision streetwear and whatever we could get our hands on. It was like that's what we were into, and we just lived it and breathed it every day. But there was no one there telling us what was cool, what wasn't cool, how to do it, what was right. And at that time, I mean, what was right? I mean, it was 86. It was like the first upswing, the first, because you think of the 80s, and it was like, that was skateboarding's first popularity march, to the forefront. And, it died in the 90s again. I mean, it's secular, but, when I look back, I'm like, yeah, I was part of this, like, first. It wasn't the first, because I'm sure in the 70s there was an upswing too. But, like, this 80s upswing of skate, when it got, pushed out a little broader. And we were kind of there digesting it, like getting into it. And
how did you hang through the 90s big pants, small wheels transition?
So that was kind of a weird. So the thing in my town was it was a small town, and I was in the country. My parents split. I moved into town, and when I moved into town, I started to meet the older skate kids, and the zone we were in was Western Wisconsin, so not that far. I mean, just like literally like 15 miles from the border to Minnesota. And in Minnesota, there's this thing called Aqua Jam that the alt bike and board shop was putting on. And it was this big aquatennial event. And all the older dudes would go to the cities and like compete in this contest. And so there was this kid like Kevin Lee. I can think of Eric Silty. Eric DeWitt was my age. And John and Greg. I can't think of their last names, but there was kind of this like older contingent of cats that were like really good and going to the cities and like getting spots, like placing at these like contests.
And at the contest, is it just like jump ramps,
Quarter
quarter pipes?
Jump ramps. There was like street, which was launch ramps. There was mini ramp contest and then a half pipe contest. And so Eric DeWitt, the kid that was in our grade. The other thing is I went to a small private school in town. So there was like, so say this is what, 10, I think I'm in like 7th grade, 6th, 7th grade. And DeWitt was in public school and I was in private school. And there was like literally like 8 kids in my class. So there was a disconnect because I didn't know those kids because I wasn't going to class with them every day.
Was it a religious private school?
Yeah, it was like a Catholic school.
Did you ever get any of the beatings or any of the vibe from nuns and that sort of thing?
We didn't have any nuns. It was like post nuns.
Ex-nuns?
Post nuns.
Yep. No nuns. The nuns' rooms were upstairs, but they were vacant. And it was mellow. I mean, it was just a small school. You know, we just did the church stuff like Wednesday church, you know, little extra Bible reading, whatever. It was pretty mellow.
Gotcha.
Got out of there and like.
There's like this gap between the public school kids and the private school kids, though.
Well, just in town because you didn't go to school. I mean, I went to kindergarten with them, and then 1st through 7th grade, I went to private school, and you just don't. It wasn't a gap. I lived in the country. You know, there's like a bunch of different factors. It wasn't. I just didn't really hang with those kids. I didn't really know them. Hung with kids in my neighborhood. You know, you're in grade school. You hang with kids that are close to your house and people you know, in your class generally.
Right.
Yeah, so those dudes ripped. And then in transitioning to high school, you know, it's like, you know, you heard everything. I had long hair and like whatever. And like kids hated skaters. So like everyone hated skaters in town unless you were a skater or a girl. And so in high school, it was like, you know, push a penny, get your hair cut. I mean, my freshman year I was scared shitless to go to freshman year of high school.
Wait, hold on. I've never heard that before. Push a penny? Yeah,
get on the floor and push a penny with your nose on a carpet so you get rug burn and shit.
Wait, what?
Yeah. High school hazing? You guys never heard of that?
We had to make paddles.
They weren't that creative, I feel like, or they would just like beat you up or like steal stuff from you or like getting pants. Getting pants was like my thing. Like I hated gym class. I hated huge basketball shorts. I just didn't like the look. I thought they were dumb. And then I'd always like, no matter how tight I made the drawstring, get pants, then that sucked.
Yeah.
But it was like simple. Or like they would just punch you in the balls. Like that was a game. That was like, just walk up to someone. Oh, I got him in the balls. Sack tap, dude. Like, like that. You're so clever. Like, oh, got him.
High school. What a fucking.
So is this like seniors? Is this like explicitly like seniors attacking freshmen, like making them
generally the upperclassmen, juniors, seniors, like coming after freshmen, like new meat, fresh meat. You know, trying to run through all the girls and trying to push down all the boys.
Trying to run through all the girls. But like 14, they're like, "What's up, mama? How you doing? You lost? Let me show you around."
Small town, man. I don't know. I mean, I know I was scared though. That's all I know. I was scared shitless.
Did you ever get in a fight with any of them?
No. So the funniest story that is I was sitting in study hall and there was this dude in front of me, and all of a sudden, out of nowhere, flicks a nickel like in the air and it hits the ground next to me, and I'm like, oh shit, because I had like, you know, I was stealthy, dude. I was on ninja status. Like I was, boom, from the locker to class, knew the shortcuts before they were even shortcuts. Always like the one thing that I was chill with is like I kind of had a lot of girls that were my homies, so it was like hook up with girl at locker, walk to class, and it helped because in high school girls are like really like, yeah, whatever, Johnny, get out of here, you know, like. And so that kind of was a benefit. And so
you had a human shield.
I attempted. And so I was avoiding the scenario as much as I could. So the nickel flies in the air and, I'm like, oh God, here we go. Can't get out of it here. I'm sitting in study hall. This senior dude is in front of me, douchebag. And like all of a sudden this dude in front of him goes, whatever. And I don't remember the guy's name, but he's like, whatever, dude. He's with me. It's all good. And I'm like, look, and I kind of like, you know, you're at desk. So I kind of like look around the dude's shoulder, like, who's that guy? And it's like this dude, Jay. And he ended up being like a skate kid. He was a senior. He was like in bands, metal bands, and like started talking to that dude. And I remember that night, I think that dude drove me home and was like, oh, it's all good, dude. I got your back. You know, and I remember being like, hell yeah.
Wow.
I got home. I'm homies with the senior dude. Sick. So
see, I was hoping, or I was imagining, or expecting rather, that it was all just going to be like bad times and like people were shitty. But then that guy reached out. It's beautiful, you know.
well, no,
Sometimes
that was the thing.
people think
At
good.
that time, AJ, like skaters, like you stuck together. Like you skate,
Yeah.
holy shit, you skate. Wow, like we're boys. Like it didn't matter. There wasn't like, oh, you ledge skate and you jump off a building. Like what? We can't be friends. Like there wasn't segments in the subculture. The subculture was a subculture. It wasn't massive. So if people identified together, you did it together and you were like stoked on each other regardless. Cause you're like, oh, you participate in pushing down the street on a skateboard and you do? Sweet. We're buddies. Like, holy shit, should we do this together? Yeah. All right. Where do you want to go skate? The bank? Yeah. Let's skate the bank. Oh, the creamery, the 2-stair at the creamery with the brick ledge. Yeah. Let's skate there. Like, you know, it was like very, come together, you know.
And
like,
it didn't matter where in the world you were. I would walk around on like summer vacation, like in an airport, or I would come out to Washington, D.C. as a kid a lot, and I would look at people's shoes all the time. And for a while, if they had skate shoes, you were boys. And then as it started to progress a little bit in the 90s, some of the skate shoes became cool. So then you had to look and see if they had an ollie hole. And then you were automatically friends. But it was exactly what you just said. It was like, if you skate, you're automatically friends.
Yeah. Because there wasn't that many dudes, you know, and like you just wanted to talk about it. And like usually that person had a bunch of stories about skateboarding that you were like super interested in. You weren't going online and like checking like today's like 18 edits that dropped, and you didn't like, you know, magazines came out once a month and there was 3 of them, you know. It was like, you know, you just wanted to talk about it with somebody because there wasn't a lot of people to talk about it with. So it instantly like gravitated to that conversation or that kind of person.
Do you think that community isn't as strong or isn't there anymore? Like, do you think the novelty of running into someone that skates is like just like one other person that skates? It's like, oh, who cares? You skate. Everyone skates.
Pretty much. I mean, my favorite part is like dudes that aren't even skaters like kill it at skating. Like, and what I mean is like Steve Boy, running back at varsity high school spot, skates in the summer sometimes. And because skateboarding's elevated to this like ridiculous point, like if you're not switch kick flipping in a day, you're like, oh, I can't skate. I suck. And it's like that kid is like at the park, because everywhere there's parks now. Like, I mean, think about it. Like I was skating a cement pad with like a little box we made, and then like the curb of the stairs. So we skated uphill to a curb that we would do like 50-50 axle stalls, come back in, come down, ollie a crack, try to kick flip over another crack, and then stop. That was like skateboarding, like for me in the country. And then we had a launch ramp. And my first launch ramp, like we had nowhere to, so we had 4 sheets of 8x4 plywood to a launch ramp launching the grass. Because that's what we had, you know? And that was skateboarding. We loved it. Like we would launch it all day long. And then in the summer, you know, Chad's spot had the tar, so we'd bring the, you know, the launch ramp was always like in the ditch, off the tar, pull it out, skate it in the morning. Couldn't skate it mid-afternoon because it got all soft. You might land and put your wheels in. But, you know, so for us, yeah, I mean, at the end of the day, now this dude's like parks everywhere, everyone skates, and it's like there's these dudes that they're just like, they're into it, they do it a little bit, but they're like instantly good at it. and then they're not really into it. You know,
they're not into the skate culture.
They're just into the look. Like, oh, skating's cool. I love street league.
Yeah.
You know, like, and that's fine. Like, I mean, I'm not trying to say that, you know, like I go to that same park and suck, and those kids are like, what's this old dude doing? And I'm like, fuck, I'm just trying to 50-50 axle stall on this thing. And they're, you know, like, switch tray flip, whatever. But I know they're not really passionate about skating. They're just doing it. It's a thing to do, and they don't care.
Think of the difference in the levels of appreciation for the park being there, where you grew up skating with nothing, like literally no flat area to even skate, and that's just one of many parks in their 20-mile radius.
And that's cool. I mean, hey, it's pretty rad when I think about it. It's like I just did a loop through Wisconsin. There's all these new parks going in. I'm just like, these kids, and it's great, and they don't appreciate it, but it's fine. I mean, hopefully someone like the shops, and that's why shops are super important, are there to tell them like, hey, we've kind of been around a long time, and this stuff's all new, and you guys are lucky to have it, and you should be fortunate because, you know, we didn't grow up with this stuff, and you should, you know, instead of building like some baseball field that no one's going to use, at least they're building something that's going to get used by whoever, skateboarders or scooter boys.
Oh, the scooter scene, dude. Like, I don't hate scootering, but what I've noticed is
contractually obligated to say that due to scooter sessions at Wendell.
I don't think they do that anymore. CooterCon. Ed CooterCon. If you look that up, the winning run at CooterCon went down 2012. But I don't know if they do that anymore. But I don't hate anything.
Hey, I met kids for wanting to get outside and do something physical.
Yeah.
Hey, go ahead, dude. Like, if you're stoked, they're usually kids. You know, they're kids. Like, they're like, whatever. I can jump on this thing and scoot around. And, you know, like, I remember I was going to the shop in Ohio, and they have this, like, pretty rad, like, 3-stair. And then it's like a 4 to 5 foot gap into this alley. Like, there's a curb at the end. So it's like a 3-stair, 5 feet curb into the alley. And like, I'm like unpacked in the car and like walking in, and these kids are like, ha, ha, ha. And then whatever you do, bunny hop, right? Bunny hop to the street. And I was like, damn, these kids are going for it right now on their scooters. And they were like 13, you know, I don't know, 12, 13, whatever. They were kids. They were just like going for it. And I'm like, man, I wish that was a skateboard. That'd be a lot cooler. But hey, you're here doing it, whatever. I mean, I don't know. Who am I to judge you, you know?
Yeah,
I was a kid.
I bet, like, yeah, exactly. And I bet there's people that look at skateboarding like we look at scootering. Like, it's goofy. I saw, who's that actress? Fran Lebowitz, or I don't know if she's an actress. She's something. And she was talking about, what's all these grown men or middle-aged men in New York skateboarding for? Like, you're too old to be skateboarding. And, like, people actually think that shit. Like, you're too old to be doing that. But, like, obviously you don't understand life and having fun. You know?
Yeah, but she probably has fun, like, posting up, talking about her new role and how she's really built her character development through these other activities that she's done. She's never done this before. It's really, really interesting. And, you know, it's really going to add this extra layer of depth to her character over a glass of Chardonnay. You know, like, that's her thing.
Yeah, that's what she's an author, by the way. I don't know why I call her an actress, but...
Okay. Well, same difference. She's going to write about that. It's going to add that extra layer to, you know, chapter 6.
Yeah, which I guess it's cool, but I'm blown away that people aren't blown away or in love with skateboarding. Like, how you can watch like amazing skateboarding and not think that's the most incredible thing in the world. And for a human being to do some of that things is like astonishing.
Yeah, it's pretty heavy.
Yeah.
You watch skateboarding, and it's like, that's really heavy. Like, that kind of scared me. I've gone on tour Jaws, so I've seen a lot of heavy things go down.
Right, I was about to say Jaws. Like, how do you watch Jaws skateboard?
Jaws jumped on my back on tour, and I hardly knew he was on me. Like,
he just weighs nothing.
He weighs nothing, and he's Skeletor. Like,
yeah,
and he's like, I watched him like fall in this mini ramp, and like his legs were both folded in, and he like stood up. Like, I was like, oh my god, you just like erected from skeleton. Like, that was in. It was nuts, but he rips so hard, and he goes for it and he'll put his body on the line and he'll get up and do it again. And you know who else is like, so I used to rep iPath forever and those dudes were on and we did this tour. I think I toured with him twice. And Ben Rayborn, dude, that kid is on fire. Like if people aren't paying attention to Ben Rayborn and skateboarding, they are missing the boat because he is so sick and rips so hard and is so consistent. It was nuts watching that kid skate. You put any transition anywhere by that kid and it's about to get weird.
It's amazing to see what you can do without even, you don't flip your board, and that takes away hundreds of tricks, and you focus in that much more, and he's done probably almost every park or transition he's been to. He's done something that nobody else has done.
And I've watched him do flip tricks into things too. Like he's just on his own. He's just got his own line, It's like, it's really cool.
So you mentioned before, we kind of have this in common. You worked retail for a long time. When did you start working at the shop?
Well, I started working at this place called Al John's in the 96. So let's see. Yeah, I think 96. And I was actually in the Mall of America. And yeah, it was kind of like a skate snow lifestyle store. They sold like swimsuits and they had their own screen printing business, pea green couch, and they made a bunch of their own like t-shirts and stuff that they were like flipping for hand over fist in the stores with just like weird slogans like I heart ravers or I hate ravers or just weird shit like that. And yeah, I mean, I kind of worked there for a while, got like 3 months in, and they're like, hey, we have a position. You can either, assistant manage here or manage this other store in Burnsville. And, I just moved to Burnsville and started managing the shop, and it was crazy, dude. Like, yeah, it was a weird culture. The mall was a weird culture. And, yeah, so I started working there. And then one of the dudes that worked with me at the Mall of America, this kid, Matt Ford, was hanging out at this other shop called Phobia, F-O-B-I-A. And he was like, dude, you got to come to the shop. The shop's dope. Like, they got Girl and Chocolate, and they're like doing all this stuff. And they've got like mixtapes, and they got caps, and they're doing graph. And like, I was like, oh, cool. Like, I'll try to get there. And, I was running like 6 days a week. Yep. Like, all this crazy shit went down at Al John's. Like, some of my employees, like ripped the till at the end of the night and took bus tickets to San Diego, and I had to like call the owner and be like, hey, my employees took all the till money and peaced. Like,
oh shit.
But that was after like I replaced the dude had like taken those dudes for like, like 20s, 30s, 40,000s of dollars because he was just ripping them blind in that same spot. So it was crazy. Oh,
was that like your exit conversation? And I'm going over to this other skate shop.
No, I was there for a little bit longer, but I pieced. But I didn't like the thing. We were going to this other shop, and it was just like this dude Joe, and him and his buddy Chris were kind of like running it. It was like really sick. You'd walk in, and like Joe'd be on the couch, hanging, like sleeping, probably off a hangover, and the PS whatever'd be on, and you just be like cool, and there's like graph everywhere, and like it was dope. I mean, I remember going, I was just like, yeah. And then eventually he'd be like, yo, Pete, my girlfriend's coming in here, well, I'm gonna take her to lunch and I need to make this deposit, do you want to hold down the store? And I'd be like, yes. And so then I'd just hang out in the shop, sell stuff, kind of do it.
You said graph everywhere. What does that mean?
Like graffiti.
Oh, okay.
So I started working at Phobia. I mean, it kind of goes a lot deeper. And then, we had one store. We opened a second store. We were running that. We opened a third store. We closed one store, went downtown Minneapolis store. We ran. And then what happened is we started a skate brand called Iota Skateboards. And Iota was pretty much, what we had done was we kind of put the Midwest on the map. We were pushing out. Our skate team was Steve Nesser, Clint Peterson, Seth McCollum, Emmerich Pratt. You know, we were kind of tied in on Darren Navarrete, who was in San Diego. There was some connection there. He was pretty OG. I mean, there was always been a really strong Midwest skate scene in Minneapolis specifically. Navarrete, John Muldoon. God, I'm forgetting a few dudes' names. Hot Rod and Haugen was a vert rider. There's a couple other older vert cats that I can't. I think Jordan Richter was a Minnesota dude.
Yes, another creative skateboarder.
Yeah, so it's like there was always like this pretty sick scene, park called Skate Oasis, way back. You know, the Aqua Jam thing was happening. There was a lot of like good skate talent coming from Minnesota, but we kind of started flexing that a little bit harder, like outside of the Midwest. Like we were going to ASRs and we were like telling people like our shit's happening, and we were bringing dudes in, and like Joe was sick at like taking care of people and like hooking it up, and so dudes were just like all about Minneapolis, and we were putting out videos, you know, like that was one of the things that Phobia always did, was like we always put out videos. So from, you know, the first video, which was called like the Phobia promo, to Hate Breeders, which was our first video, to you know, and there's this kid Benji Meyer who was ripping videography at the time, and he put out a couple videos. One was called Anonymous. He did Shitheads Volume 8. You know, look these up online. I think a lot of them are online. They're dope.
So this is kind of where the entrepreneurial bug started, is with IOTA, the transition from the shop. Now, were you eventually like a part owner or partner in the shop?
No, I was the general manager.
Okay.
So I was pretty much, I kind of like became I was a snow TM, the GM, and then I was running IOTA sales. So I was doing the majority of the buying in line with, you know, Joe and Dan, the owners, and then and the managers, and then kind of running all that.
It sounds very much like
like
the progression at Pickerel. I mean, very much.
Tim and what's the other cat's name?
Malcolm. Yeah.
So I knew Tim. So I'm good. I guess. So I essentially, like, that happened. We were doing IOTA. IOTA was killing it. In '97, I concepted the interior plane project through a process in which I was like, I would love to do a snowboard brand.
All the way back in '97 is when you came up with it. What was that moment like? Like, did the light bulb go off, or when did you first put pen to paper? When did you write down interior plane project?
'97. I just was in this house, thinking about it, like, man, like our skate team's so good, and I had the snow team, and they were like Mike Casanova, CJ Marsh, Craig Williams, Jeff Christofferson, Dana Mopey. I just had all these dudes that were just so good, and I was just watching them improve and like progress and have unique style, and like I just was like, I mean, we could have our own thing. Like, we should have our own thing. Like, you know, whatever. We had the vehicle. We had 3 doors. A bunch of it can be sold through the shop. We could sell outside of the store, and it just like made sense, you know. And so I remember the first thing I concepted was sickle snowboards. I thought sickles were cool. I was like, I'm going to do the sickle things. And so, and then I was like, it's just too like snowboardy and whatever. And I was like, I was really, you know, passionate about Alien and was psyched on everything that Alien Workshop was doing. And I really liked how they had this like really obscure name, and you're like the Alien Workshop.
And obscure videos too.
And phobia. Like the big thing everyone always asks, like, phobia, what's that? What's phobia? And I love the idea of begging a question, like, what is something is unique, you know? It's like that brings somebody to something, and it makes them ask and inquire. So it
draws them in, right?
Well, and it gives them an opportunity to learn, you know? It's like, I didn't just want to be like, blah, 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 you know, because now it says it right here.
Well, the other thing that it does is that it weeds out the people that you don't want.
Well, that's true.
So your football skateboarder guy isn't going to take the time to ask the question. Right.
And so for me, it was just like the interior plane project. I had gone to this, the biggest thing that's interesting, and it's funny because I understand it, and it maybe is like mildly intentional, but it's definitely not intentional. It was kind of like when I created the name concept, it definitely didn't run through my brain as like a part of it. It might have been a secondary thought. But I went to this black box theater when I was about, I think I was probably I was probably 18. And I can't ever remember if it was my freshman year of college or my senior year of high school. But I went to this theater, and it was about this. The play was about this guy who had gone to this town to write a book about all this weird stuff that was happening in this town. And essentially, the concept was at the edge of town, there was this house, and there was a tear in like the dimensionality or time continuum, and like all these creatures and things were moving through different dimensions coming into this town and like, fucking it up. And this was all happening in Black Box Theater, where like, Black Box Theater is essentially like a single stage, nothing really moves, but all this stuff happens around you. And it was real impactful at the time, just like conceptually. I was like, whoa, that was cool. And when I think of the Interior Plane Project, that's what it means to me. It's not that we're in the Midwest, in the plains. It's that the Interior Plane Project is like, we're a vehicle and we're moving through these different dimensions. And that's where the pilot concept and the board concept comes from, is that, there are riders and you can ride a board, but you pilot a board. You get on a board and you're in charge of it and you instruct it and it does what you want it to do. And so for me, that whole concept is more from that. And then in light of that, secondarily, people consider, because we are in the Midwest, they go, oh, the Interior Plane Project, they're the Midwestern brain.
Yeah. That was my initial thought. It's rad to hear that there's way more behind it.
Yeah, because that's just, and that's okay, but that's just because I think differently than that. And so that doesn't cross my mind. I think, it was inspired by more than that. It was more about having this like, and then, the IPP or TIP or IPP or whatever people, the acronym side of it is kind of interesting and nice and easy. And, that's, all like kind of secondary too, but it's cool. It's like, I want Interior to be whatever anybody wants it to be for them. For what it is for me is it's a vehicle for all the insane crap that goes through my head all the time and all the points of view that I want to put out there and all the things that I daydream about, like 85% of my life. And like, it's conceptual. It's never the same. It's always moving. It's always evolving. It's always shape shifting. It's always, something different. And the things that are stable then are the boards. And for me, snowboarding's always been about being able to manipulate a board. And it was funny because all these years selling snowboards, I've watched all the constructions and advancements in technology and material and weights, and the reality is the same. The thing that happens is that it's still, the onus is always the pilot. It's always the snowboarder. It's always the person that's putting the input, regardless of what the product is under their foot. If you're a good snowboarder, you're a good snowboarder. If you're not a good snowboarder, you're not a good snowboarder. Are there different values in product underneath your feet at some level? Sure. Will some help you? Yes. But kind of once you get to a certain level, it's like, have at it, you're kind of there once you kind of, it's like riding a bike. It's like putting somebody on a bike, like, sure, can they pedal faster in the crazy 10 speed versus like the single gear? Potentially, but you're still biking.
Yeah, it's diminishing returns after a certain point. You're getting the bulk of it done when you strap in, and then the what is actually under your feet, given the scale of options for snowboards is minor in the difference in how you're going to ride.
And I got really, 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 really tired of selling snowboards to retailers that didn't matter, that didn't know anything about snowboarding, that were just selling a consumable good to a customer that wants a consumable product. And it just became very disheartening to me. And it really drugged me over the coals for a while. And as that like evolved in my sales life or whatever, in my career or whatever, I just got to the point, and then and we kind of skipped a bunch, but like eventually, my daughter was coming, and I was like, as a father, can I show my child something more than compromise in the world? And can I finally grow a sack and do something that I really want to do, that I've thought about for almost a decade, and pull the trigger regardless of the end game? Like, to exist and to participate and to actually follow through. And that's where Interior came. It was like, my daughter was coming. I had a great gig. I loved the people I worked with. I was tired of compromising. I decided that the compromise was too great. And I decided that what I wanted to do mattered more, and that I would probably have more of an opportunity to be a bigger voice in the direction that I wanted to be if I was able to like make it happen. And so after kind of like trying to figure it out for a long time, I kind of stumbled upon a partner in a factory that was willing to work with me, that wasn't like disabling from a financial sense. Like, that's the thing, is like looking for a manufacturing partner forever. It's like, some of these dudes are just like out of their mind what they want in terms of like
minimums and what have you. Actually,
that's the thing, is like, I understand a snowboard. And so that's the thing, is I'm not, sure, I'm not hand building my boards. That's fine. I'm not a snowboard craftsman per se.
I want to talk about that a little bit. How did
I'm a snowboarder?
Right. I want to talk about that transition a little bit more.
I'm sorry, what?
I think we were breaking up a little. Sorry. I want to talk about the logistics of that transition a little bit more, because here you've made the decision to follow your passion, your inner voice, and you've been working on it since 97. So the path is laid. It's just like making the leap. How did you logistically feed your family, your family to be? How did you feed yourself? How did you keep a cash flow? And how did you get the funds to start?
Well, I've been repping. So, in 2004, I decided to rep full time. So I'd had almost a decade of repping under my belt. And so through that, obviously for me, it was always something in my mind. And I even interviewed for a position and said, this is something I wanted to do on my own. You guys are doing it now. I want to help you and be with you guys. And I want to be a part of what you're building. But, this is, I definitely laid on the table, like, my dream is to start a snowboard brand. And we did it, and we killed it. Like, it was like, we did work, and like, I helped those guys, and, it was obviously a collaborative effort of everybody, but we all worked together hard and had fun, and I learned a lot. And, I think often, like, if I wouldn't have done that repping gig, would I have the information and knowledge and like, that I have now? And I wouldn't, on many levels. And,
right. It was a step in the process.
Yeah. And it was awesome, and it's like, I still love that company and that brand. And like, I respect those dudes a lot. And there's like powerful people there that have a lot of passion and that are, doing it for the reasons that it should be done, and are like great people to support. And there's a lot of snowboard brands that are full of people that are like amazing people that deserve to be supported and are super passionate about snowboarding. So snowboarding's definitely like got a lot of people in it that deserve where they're at, and like, people who go out and buy their product should feel stoked to ride their stuff. And like, so we're not coming in like, oh, we're the saviors.
Right. No, I totally agree.
Yeah.
Like most snowboard companies do have people that are, oh, AJ, you're with us.
Hi,
yeah,
AJ.
Sorry. Hey, how's it going? I was going to say,
is this your podcast, AJ, or are you just like jumping in here?
This is the IPP podcast.
Yeah.
This is the IPP podcast. We've been hijacked. We've been podjacked. I was just going to say, like, I can see that. Oh, we're not trying to save. I mean, snowboarding is rad, and I can see how you're saying you're not trying to save it. But there, with all those things that you said about where IPP came from and what it means, and the people that you involve yourself with, it stood out so much to me when I first saw it, and there was just something about it that was like, it's authentic, it's legitimate. And there's companies that I see a lot of times on Instagram. They want you to follow them. They'll ask you to rep for them, and it's like Dreamy Elegance, and it's like they are like, they don't get. There's just no substance to them. There's nothing, and I kind of feel like IPP is a company that snowboarding really deserves right now.
Well, I'm
That's
humbled by that statement because that's very nice of you to say, and I appreciate that wholeheartedly, and I'm sure the rest of the crew does too. And that's for me, it's like like I mentioned to you before, it's like you're riding an interior board and you're riding like a piece of my heart, because at the end of the day, like snowboarding's been 3/4 of my entire life a part of me. And like when I'm on a lift and some like 10-year-old kid, and I'm talking to him, whatever, skier, snowboarder. I love talking to the kids on the lift just to see what's up, how are they doing? And they're always like, okay, dude, how long you been snowboarding? And I'm like 29 seasons, and they like triple check me. And I ride with a face mask a lot, which is funny. In the middle of winter in the Midwest, I love just going ninja on the lift, and so they can't see me. I'm all blacked out, Ashbury, blacked out lenses, black face mask. And they're like, how long you been snowboarding? I'm like 29 seasons. They're just like, lose their shit, dude. It's like, yeah, dude, because this is what I do. It's like, it's a part of like what makes me happy every day.
You've been snowboarding longer than my dad's been alive.
Exactly. Well, it's just funny. Well, I have younger brothers, and that's what's funny is like my 19-year-old brother's parents are younger than me, which is really weird because my stepmom is always like, yeah, Adrian, we never connected with Adrian's parents. They're like younger than you. And I'm like, that's hilarious. But, at the end of the day, I've gone through a lot of the scenarios, and I've been around, and I'll continue, I pay dues, and I'll continue to pay dues. And I snowboard because I want to snowboard, not because I need to get a check or there's some trick I have to do for some videographer for some reason. Like I snowboard because that's what I want to do daily, every day, even in the summer. And like, that's fine. It doesn't, it doesn't define, it's probably defined a lot of my life. I would like to think my family now, and my daughter and my friends, and like there's a lot of other parts that help define who I am. And so while it's very prevalent and important and like pertinent, it also isn't the only part of me that matters. And like I said, I daydream 85% of the time. So it's like when I'm daydreaming, I often am daydreaming about snowboarding and snowboard related things, but not always. Sometimes I'm thinking about trying to catch a largemouth bass, or like, sometimes I'm thinking about how I wish I skated even more, and like,
yes,
why don't I take the time or make the time to go push more? Or damn, I wish I was on my bike and pedaling around the lake right now, which is one of my favorite things to do. Or, like it just, so it's not like I look at kids and I'm like, damn, kids, like there's more than snowboarding. I know you're on Yobi right now, hating, but there's other things to do too. Like go out and do those. I mean, I guess they could be skating and hating.
Lots of kids do. It sounds like you're reading my mind about the daydreaming. You're in my brain. Can we back up to something you said earlier? I don't know if AJ, you were on the line when he said this, but you said during part of your sales career, you felt like you were compromising yourself in some ways, kind of kowtowing to what the retailers wanted. Do you remember anything specifically that
well, just reverse camber, that whole movement, the movement of, I would do, this one retailer wanted me to come in, like, so I would sell them. We were doing really good business, and so I was more than happy to at one point go and help them at these big sales sell a lot of their product. But I would go, the difference between me and some of the other cats that were there would be that I would bring dudes, and I would, coming from retail, I understood that, like, at the end of the day, if we're going to come to the sale, we want to sell stuff. Yep. So whether it's our brand or another brand, let's push as much gear out the door and like help as many people and like make as many sales for this company as possible.
Yeah, you went back into shop employee mode.
Oh, totally. Because at the end of the day, I love selling snowboards. Like at a shop level, I love getting somebody a snowboard. I love having them go ride that board and having them come back to the store and be like, holy shit. And me going like, yeah, I know, right? Yes.
Yeah.
Like that's what it's about. Like you're stoked, I'm stoked. You're going to do it for life. I'm going to do it for life. Let's do it. Call me. Like, so like that's, so in that mentality in this bigger arena, me and my at that time, 2 sub reps were in there just crushing sales. Like, I mean, I would count. So we'd sell like 100 and some of our own brand, and then like 30 or 40 other boards and bindings and boot scenarios, like, and you know, however many other people we touched. And then my numbers just kept going backwards with this company, and I was just like, dude, what is going on?
That's crazy.
I am like trying so hard to help these dudes out. And that was the thing, is like, I'm a partner kind of a person. Like, you know, I want to partner with people, and as much as you can help me, I can help you, and we can partner up, and like, let's, you know, have a good relationship. And if things go sour, let me know. Like, give me a cut, you know, let's be honest and talk about it and like figure it out. 'Cause you know, things change, and I understand that. Yeah. So, I mean, at one point, you know, when things got to a point where I was like, really, this is like the order you're giving me, and now you want me to come to your thing and do I mean, I was just like over it. I was just like, why am I even busting my chops driving 14 hours to this sale, spending money on like my sub reps being there with me, like I was just like, dude, this is stupid.
There's no return on investment at that point. Did you ever find out why the order was dropping? Was it just your company, or was it across the board?
No, it was they were into other things, or they were into this, or they're, you know, they just were whoever's giving the best discount.
Okay.
Essentially. Or, you know, like, just like anything, like, if you burn too hot,
got to cool off.
You die. Yeah. You know, it's like, it's funny how I watch all these cats like burn blue hot, and then it's like, poof, where'd they go? Oh shit, they're disappeared because they just flame themselves out, you know? And, you know, I mean, I've seen it. It's weird, but shops do the same thing, or they, you know, every shop buyer, you don't kiss enough ass, or you're not, you know, whatever.
It's across all industries. I mean, to get kind of nerdy, but the stock market is crashing today, and it's been at this inflated level for a long time. You know, it just reached new highs the past couple months, and everybody's super bullish, right? You know, they think that's the thing, but it's time to cool off for a while.
Well, you know what the time is? It's time for all the rich people to move in and buy up shitloads of stock, while all the middle class reacts super weird and goes, oh my God, my retirement. Oh, sell. And then all the super rich people just buy. Ha 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 ha. And now they own even more shit.
That's the Warren Buffett thing, is, you know, when everyone else is fearful, that's when he whips out the wallet and buys.
Well, that's when he ain't the only one. Why do you think we're so upside down in wealth in this country? I think they're all playing fake life on the fake life.
I think it's Obama's fault. So.
Oh, dude, my mom. Oh my. Oh my God, I'm sorry, Mom. This Obamacare, like, it's healthcare.
Obamacare, they're taking care of me.
It's healthcare, Mom. They got me calling India.
They got me calling India.
They
got me calling them. India, I'm going over there. I'm getting healthcare from India.
And then she was all mad. The AT&T dude was over. She's like, why you guys got me calling overseas? I'm like, Mom, every call bank is overseas. That's everyone. You don't call anyone here unless it's your agent that's making 10 points on you. Call that guy. Yeah. Like, if you need, like, if you're, I don't know. Sorry, Mom. You live in Green Bay.
Is your mom going to listen to this episode?
I don't know. Probably not. She's not that internet savvy. Oh. I'll send it to her. Maybe she will. Sorry. Hi, Mom.
If the Geek Squad comes over and gets everything sorted for you.
It's all love.
So I did a little digging around on the internet, and I wanted to ask you, what would Pooh do?
What would Pooh do? Probably sleep on my shoulder while I was interneting on some Excel files.
Is Pooh still with us?
No, Pooh's gone.
When did explain for everyone what who Pooh was?
Pooh was my cat, Kai. His name was Kai. He was Siamese flame point, and he had we had him declawed. Sorry if you're not into that. And in the front, and when he went in for that, they found that he had like a liver shunt. So like his larger vein that was supposed to go through his liver didn't and went around it. And so his whole life he was kind of like taking this medicine to like allow his body to like digest the proteins better. And they told me after that, because he like almost died at the vet, and I was like, oh, you know, and they were like, he's only going to live like, you know, another year or two, and he ended up living until he was 7 years old.
This is a common theme on the podcast, by the way. Sean Sullivan on one of the initial episodes had a dog named Finn with the exact same issue.
Crazy.
Yeah, super random. But
yeah, so yeah, Kai lasted a long time, and like he passed in a September, and my daughter was going to come in December, so it was kind of like this weird like transition between like Kai. You know, the thing about animals is like, and I think everyone who owns animals or in the having pets is like probably, I think, on the same wavelength. It's like you could be in love with your wife or your significant other or whatever, and they like, you know, there's a lot of like give and take there. But like when you come to like an animal relationship, it's like unconditional. Like it doesn't matter. They're like, you feed me, you clean my pan, you pet me. They're, you know, and like me and this cat were like down. Like we were homies for life. And yeah, he was cool. You know, we kind of lucked into him. We got him from the Humane Society, and he was just this awesome little cat when we bought our house. You know, we had a cat, Za, and you know, Kai came into the fold, and Za was kind of like, you know, she was a black cat. She was cool. She was a little skittish. She was nice, but like didn't like to be held and shit. And Kai was kind of the other way. He didn't really need to be petted. He just liked to be held, or like he liked to like lay on your shoulder. He was weird, you know, he was on his own trip, and he was small, you know, he was kind of little. So, and he was real talky. He like talked to you a lot like a dog would. And he had this like real, like, I'm hanging out with you personality. Like, sup, you're in the morning, like, sup, coffee. All right, cool. I'm gonna hang right here. All right, you gonna internet? All right.
One of my favorite things in the world is to watch cat videos on the internet. It's like what I think the internet was invented for.
Cat videos. Sick.
And your cat had his own website, right?
Yeah. Well, so at the time I was, Marie Huckle was one of my team riders for Rome. And she was super into cats. And she had this like, you know, she lives on a farm. She had all these cats, and she had like all these names, Potato and all these different cats. And so we were like, let's make a blog for our cats. It was like funny, you know? And so like together we created this What Would Pooh Do blog. Cause she had come, like those guys all came to my house. The one thing, like, so from repping, when I started repping, I was doing snowboards in Michigan, Indiana, Ohio. So I worked for Rome. Michigan, Indiana, Ohio were my 3 states. I lived in Minnesota. So the first account for me was 7 hours away.
Whoa.
So when I started, there were 3 doors: Casualties Marquette, Sun Sports, can't think of it, Fenton, Michigan, and Dub Shop in Kalamazoo, Michigan. And it was like, those are the 3 doors. And Casualties, Matt, was actually the rep prior to me. So it was like, one of the dudes was actually the rep at the store. So it was like 2 doors. You know, it was like, and so, you know, my whole deal was like, I went to Michigan, and then for me, and one of the big things was like, I knew Minnesota had a 6 scene, and that was really interesting. And what I wanted to do was like connect the entire Midwest, because I always felt like, well, what's going on in Michigan? I know there's cool shit. I know Aaron Draplin's from Michigan because he was making a snowboard magazine called Poke, because he went to MCAD in the cities. And at Phobia, they were bringing in these dope copies of this magazine called Poke that they were like hand doing. And then, you know, I knew that Chris Ingelsman was from Michigan, and I knew there was all this like stuff going on at Nub's Knob because it was getting play in the magazines. And I was like, we need to like connect the Midwest. The Midwest needs to be more of like a thing all together. And so
right.
I started helping kids out, trying to sponsor kids and like bringing kids up in my zone. And yeah, so I brought up like, I mean, honestly, like some of the kids that were like some of my first kids over there, like Martin Keegan works at Dragon now as a graphic designer. He's like the number 2 graphic designer at Dragon. This kid, his brother, Will Keegan, went on to be he worked at one point was working for General Motors or Ford. I'm not exactly sure, as an industrial designer. Well, he went on to be a DC boot designer, shoe designer. He designed like the like a Kalis shoe for DC, which how cool is that? Kalis is from Michigan.
Wow.
And then worked at 32 and like he, you know, like Will Keegan, Martin Keegan, designers in the industry. Cameron Strand now just got the cover of Transworld.
Yeah.
We Are Blood. I mean, Cameron Strand was a kid that I brought up since he was like 14 years old. Like I'm so proud of that kid for everything that he's accomplished. It's like unbelievable.
That's such an interesting
I love
piece
his photography. I love Cameron Strand.
Well, yeah, because it's the best photog in fucking skate right now. Like that's
been coming. He killed it.
He's killing it daily. That dude is destroying it. Literally, like he's out every day shooting shit, and that's why he's where he's at.
That's such an interesting piece to me about being a sales rep, because it's a whole part that you're not compensated for. You're out there doing that out of your love for snowboarding. I mean, somebody else could come in and walk through the motions and do the job required to sell the snowboards to the shops without even participating in the other part of it and keeping a lookout for the kids that need to be taken care of.
Well, and for me, I'm all about bringing up, I'm very passionate about the Midwest, and like, you know, I grew up right at Trollhagen with, you know, Chad Otterstrom and Micah McGinnity, and I mean when I was real young, Dale Rayberg and Roan Rogers, Gilligan Yoder, like you know, like I was early on, I realized that I didn't quite have, you know, every kid, and it's cool, and I think every kid should, because it's kind of part of the special part of our activities, our lifestyle, is that every kid thinks that maybe I'm going to be that guy. Could I be pro? Yes, you could. Will you be? Maybe not. But it's cool to have that dream because it pushes your riding, it pushes your desire. I mean, there's nothing wrong with that, you know? But at a certain point, there's a certain reality check where you can be like, okay, I'm 28. I'm probably not going to make it as a pro. Maybe I should figure out the next move, you know? Like maybe I should figure out another avenue to be in. So for me, fortunately, watching Chad Otterstrom snowboard really young, I realized early on that like I probably was going to be a pro snowboarder.
Yeah, you could just see, oh, he's got that. He's got it. I don't.
No, that's
saying 28's the cutoff, so I'm not going to make it.
No, I mean,
I'm done.
AJ, you just crushed AJ's dreams.
All right, I guess I'm retiring.
AJ, come on, dude. You're on a podcast right now. I know where you're going. I see you. I was there at Windell's MCing. I mean, you know, like Todd Richards, watch out.
Ooh.
It's coming for your job.
I'm trying to eat off his plate.
ESPN.
So you were with Rome during when Rome was in pretty high demand and snowboarding was in a pretty good upswing. Was it challenging? You're here, you're on one front, you're bringing your area together, but at least I was friends, really, I still am really good friends with Jay Smith, who was the rep in our area.
I was going to say, I'm really good friends with Jay too.
Yeah. And one of his biggest challenges at the time was not selling it to shops. You know, there were people banging on his door. Was that a challenge for you, kind of being a little bit more like, no, you can't have this?
Well, yay and nay. I mean, we were trying to like push it out like enough each year. We were trying to grow it at a good level so it would sustain. But that was the thing, is like, you know, once I got to, I mean, there's only so many doors, you know, and I was pretty driven to cut into some other people's business in the market because they had helped put out one of, you know, the shop I worked for, Phobia, and I was pissed. And so I was very, you know, motivated to go after dollars. So I wasn't really having a lot of trouble with that.
Gotcha.
Because I was definitely chomping. And, you know, I mean, it's funny because I remember because me and Jay worked at Rome and Holden together. I still work for Holden. I mean, that's the thing, is like, unlike a lot of dudes, like I'm not on some like switch your shit up. I work for Holden, Ashbury, Howell, Neff Headwear. Like I've been with Neff for like 12 years. Like I'm down. Like if I work for somebody, like I'm in there. Like I'm not just flipping dollars. Like I'm a loyal Midwestern, hardworking, passionate dude. Unfortunately, you know, things get weird, and you know, cats don't understand. You know, I feel like a lot of shops don't really understand loyalty. So
And they're the ones that scream it the most, oh, you're buying shit on the internet. You don't get it.
Just even like all the things I do with interior are exactly what I hear all the shops screaming about, but I don't see anyone like people aren't beating down the door for the brand.
Well, you don't exactly. I was going to ask you this. You're not selling direct, right?
No direct.
Blows my mind. Congratulations to you for like holding the line.
Well, maybe a kick in my own balls, but like that's not what I want to do. I'm attempting, and it's cool because like I get it. Like, we've grown up how do I say this? The 2000s, the 2010s, what
the aughts, the
AJ. Help me out here. You're like young.
I'm like young. I think the aughts, but we're not in the aughts anymore. So the teens or
whatever,
the 2000s, whatever we're in.
So I feel like right now, like at retail, and I mean, I don't know. I'm not at retail every day, so I'm not trying to pretend I know. I'm just, when I'm at retail, when I think about retail, which I do a lot, because I always dream about having a shop because I'm very passionate about having a shop. And that's a real passionate part of like my life is like retail. At the end of the day, I always like thought it was funny. Like as a rep, I was like, I'm not really a rep. I'm kind of a retailer selling other retailers. But, I feel like the retailers have gotten so comfortable with kids coming in demanding specific products based on the fact that the end consumer now is so informed or marketed to or whatever label you want to give that person, misinformed, that they all have like some preconceived idea of what they want before they walk in the door. Whereas in the past, those people walked in the door and they were an open book or at least only had a couple chapters that they were interested in and you could kind of turn them on to some other stuff. Now it's a little bit different because a lot of times they're like, well, really want this name dropper. I'm just going to go to the Bird site and click, boom, it's at my door. Sick. Or you look at Amazon culture and you're like, okay, so like in 2 years, Amazon's going to be like dropping shit off at my porch 30 minutes after I order it. Like that shit's insane, So the way that the end user, the end consumer, the consumer in our capitalist culture is consuming goods is like so like convenience based and or convenience based on the fact that they think they are so informed because they have so much information at the click of their fingers. Understandable. I get it. I'm on the internet as much as most people. Obviously it's strange. But it is different, and so retail's harder. And I think they've become very interested in products that people come in and just ask for. And I think they've lost a little bit of the storytelling aspect in that place, which for me, and that's where we stand, is like, I want to tell a story and I like that part of it. And I want, if I'm a person working on the floor of a shop, I want to be able to tell a kid about something maybe they don't know quite as much about and be like, explain it. And if they don't understand or it doesn't quite compute, be able to like try to relate it to them in another way through an analogy or some other thing, and it's like, that's kind of where we stand. And like, hey, I'm not forcing anybody. I don't want anybody to do it if they're not into it. And we're just here and like, we're going to keep plugging and we're not any better and we're definitely not any worse than anybody else. And we're just, I'm kind of hoping people kind of come to it on their own and are passionate about it, because I think that's at the end of the day where it has potential to like stick, is like, if the stores that are passionate about it are crushing.
Yeah.
Like those guys are like doing great right now. And like the brand's really resonating and the people, they get it. The kids get it. It's selling through. It's really good. Dudes that are like kind of doing it because they're like my homies and they don't quite get it. Even though I try to talk to them a lot about it, they're just doing okay with it, and it's like, all right, like I don't get it, but okay, like here's why we're doing it, and I go through, like this is who we are, and we'll come to your zone, and wait, one of your team riders rides for us, like you could do it.
Well, look at what's happened in skateboarding, where small brands are crushing it everywhere, and it's that model. A lot of them are super hard to find. I mean, Supreme kind of led the way there in a lot of ways and turned a shop into a brand in their own little niche, right? But I see lots of other things kind of in that vein, maybe not the New York City vibe, but just small runs, hard to get, major story behind it, like, and hard to figure out story. It's definitely a model that works really well.
I mean, I stood in line. I'm still a little tired. I stood in line for the Supreme drop, fall drop. I was camping. I was in my polar tent. I was camping out. Cops of Supreme. I just got some stickers though. So, but I got, the newest ones.
That was $200 though.
Yeah, it cost me. I maxed out my credit card. But that's like there is like something. I mean, there is like something about going into a shop, and like there is that sense of community, and there's so much you lose by buying online, but there's also like, for me, it's just like a practical thing, like trying to buy shoes online and then they're not fitting, and then just be like, well, I should have just gone to some store and tried them on, or like looked at them. Like there's so many things I have to look at and feel and touch and see in person to buy it. Like,
culture can be communicated online through a point of view in which you kind of back up specifics, but at the end of the day, culture is born of reality, and reality is when you walk in and communicate with somebody about something real, and there's things that are tangible when you touch stuff and you talk and you high five, and there's like, I mean, cultures can exist online, and unfortunately, I'm sure through intelligent people they'll evolve and become even more opportunistic in that regard. But like at the end of the day, when you ride, it's different. When you're at the hill and you're participating, it's different, than when you're online, like checking stuff out. And culture is the biggest part of shops to me. Like at the end of the day, yes. Are you paying a little extra to help that dude eat? Yes, you are. Just because you're not getting free shipping and free return shipping on something, and you drive 10 minutes to somewhere, sure, you spent an extra $2 on gas. But I see the same thing. Like I see people not getting free shipping, driving to the store, putting on the boot, trying it on. Okay, that's the boot I want. Driving back home to save 10%. Like, come on, like,
or even more grossly, just buying it on their phone right in front of you, which has happened to me multiple times.
Wow.
Right. Like, yeah. Wow. It's insane. It's like, so really you want to support these cats in wherever over the people that are your neighbors. And that's fine. I mean, I don't know. I'm not righteous enough to understand like if that's okay or not. I know that in my moral code, I think that's kind of beat. And I think it's kind of like soft. And I think that it's selfish. And I find it to be, marginally unintelligent. But, whatever. I mean, to each his own, if saving $5 on something like makes the world to you, then I'm sorry that that's your value system, because at the end of the day, money's just money. Yep. It doesn't really fucking mean anything. It's just a bunch of fake shit that they print out. Everyone's like, oh, money. And that's why you're talking about stock market. And it's like, that shit's fake as fuck, dude. Like, what is real about any of that shit?
It's as real as we believe it is.
Exactly. It's not real. My wife works in that shit, dude. And I'm just like, I hear about it and I'm just like, oh my God, that shit is insane. Like, oh, this dude hedged some money to this dude to buy this stock and got a return on it, even though nobody really touched any money. Like, what? Like, how does that even work? Like, that's that's nuts. But, to each his own. I mean, I guess, we got it figured out.
And I know that you mentioned
for kids that like live far away from snowboarding and don't live near snowboard shops. Like, I mean, there's kids that come to summer camp that live in the South. And they're not going to be able to roll up to a snowboard shop.
No, I mean, that's skate shop. I mean,
sure.
to each his own.
Yeah.
But I'm just saying that, like, and I'm not trying to be absolute by any means. Like, again,
right.
I'm not saying I know everything. I'm just saying this is my point. This is my point of view. Like, I live in Minnesota. There's like 8, probably more specialty stores plus all the mall doors, like 11 to 28. Who knows? And it's like, at the end of the day, like there's a lot of opportunity for you to go not very far to participate with somebody who has put a lot of time and effort, energy, and cash on the line to help support you. My favorite part is like kids are like, not kids, but people are like, oh, well, all these events just happen. Oh, 32 video. I was talking to somebody about the 32 video premiere, the regional rep about 32 video premiere tonight, and like all the different things we could do. And we were going all the different like zones that we could do it, and how we could do, how he could do it. So like the kids would come, and how it could do it to make all the shops happy. And there was just all this thought that went into like this one, whatever, hour and a half premiere that will support snowboarding culture and retailers in our market, and it's like, it's not like people aren't thinking about this stuff. Like it just happens, like, oh, cool, video premiere, sweet, gonna go online. And like I said, online's not the devil. It's not like online's the devil, but it's like, if you're not supporting your local shops that are doing all these different events and helping the brand support all these local events, then what are you you're not really helping the community of snowboarding. And hey, if you don't want to, if you don't care, like, hey, snowboarding's whatever, I do it, I just participate, then go ahead. Like, that's fine too. Like, if that's your point of view. But if you're like emailing me like all the fucking time about being sponsored and you never go into the stores to buy my goods, then what? Like, really? Like, that's okay. Like, that's fine with you. You're just like, oh, well, you should really give me free stuff. I never support your stuff or the stores that support you, but I'm so good at snowboarding, you need to give me free things. And that's the thing that's really funny to me. The thing that snowboarding fucked up a long time ago is like they started sponsoring all these fucking kids. And at the end of the day, I look at like biking and I'm like, dudes that bike their asses off don't get shit for free. They pay for frames. They might get parts for free, but you don't get free bikes. You don't hear about free bikes. Like, I have a buddy who is like sick fucking biker, insane, kills at biking, doesn't get free shit, spends thousands of dollars on his equipment to be sick at biking, doesn't get shit for free. Snowboard kids. I do shitty, average snowboarding, but I'm the best kid at my hill. I feel like I'm the best dude ever. Please give me free stuff.
The biking industry's been around longer. It's more mature, and they're still struggling, even though they're more protective of their margins and more protective of their stuff. They're not giving it away for free. So that should be a red flag to the snowboard industry right now. That's interesting.
Well, I just think it's funny, and like, I'm not mad. I mean, I wanted free stuff too. Don't get me wrong. Like, I can understand and see the point of view. But at the same time, it's like, man, like, open your mind. Look around, observe, pay attention, ask intelligent questions, consume a little bit more information before you make assumptions, like, participate.
And be grateful for what you do have.
Exactly.
Do you think the Midwest is lucky in the sense of, like, for me, it seems like the Midwest, maybe in the Northeast, are kind of the hub of snowboarding right now. Like, it used to be Colorado, Utah, California, but I don't see those places as being like where progressive snowboarding is happening or like where I'm paying attention the most. It's like Trollhagen or Highland and Minneapolis. That's where street riding's happening. That's where like park riding or like good rail riding is happening,
But there's good snowboarding everywhere. It's just a matter of,
there's good snowboarding everywhere.
AJ, yeah. Obviously, you pay attention to rails a lot. That's very close to your heart, near and dear, and so that turns you on when it comes to snowboarding more. So you see that kind of snowboarding, and you're like, oh, ooh, yeah, and like that's what gets you hyped. And so, but who knows? Like, some guy in Indiana might be like, damn, I love big mountain riding. Holy shit, Soul Food blew my mind. Wyatt Seisanos, what is that dude doing? I do anything that dude does because he rips, and that's just, it's what you're into, and yes, are there a bountiful amount of ripping snowboarders in the Midwest? Yes, there always have been. Blue Montgomery, owner Capita, Iowa. Shane Tidor, dude who runs Ride, Iowa. Like, it's not like dudes, like, the Midwest is the fabric of snowboarding. Some of the first U.S. Snowboard Championships, Michigan. Snurfer, the so-called invention of snowboarding, Michigan. Like, Midwest is very, very, very a fabric of snowboarding culture. Top 10 snowboarder of all time, Chad Otterstrom said it. Minnesota. Bjorn Lines, top 10 snowboarder of all time, Minnesota, Big Lake, transplant to Iowa. I know he was a teenager. But like these dudes, like snowboarding is definitely Dale Rayberg, Roan Rogers, like dudes that progressed street riding to the next level. That like Chad Schnacky, Rice Lake, Wisconsin. Like, snowboarding culture is so embedded and influenced by Midwesterners. It's not even recognized on like the tip of the iceberg when it comes to the end of the day, because a lot of these cats end up moving to different zones because there's, bigger mountains. Who doesn't want to ride more snow? I mean, I understand it. I live real close to airport, so I can get places real easy. And I do like traveling, and I think that's part of snowboarding. Like the traveling aspect is so key, but we live in an urban environment with a lot of snow and low temperatures. So there's a lot of snow here that makes rail riding really accessible. There's a large sprawling suburb environment here. So you can go out and there's also a lot of business and like higher end, General Mills and Eco Lab. And there's a lot of like bigger businesses here. So there's sprawling weird campuses. There's tons of schools, it's kind of like California. You look at all the school skating in California. It's like, there's schools everywhere with weird banks to benches and small picnic tables everywhere. And everyone's like doing ledge tricks and hauling picnic tables. Like, holy crap. It's, it's very similar to that kind of mentality here. You can just like, it's so accessible, when JP and Jeremy have a storage container here full of stuff for like a decade. So they can just come here in the Mac Dog days and like pull out their generator and all their shovels and shit. It's all just stored away all summer, and then come here all winter and just rip. It's like, it's definitely a cool thing, and it skews the perception of the kids. And when it goes, this kind of travels all the way back to like talking about the kids and how they're like switch tray flip day 3, like, woo, the kids here definitely see that. Cause Joe Sexton, Jonas Mitchell, Danimals, Booty, I don't want to say all my kids, but like all the dudes that are like riding around here that are like destroying daily, that 13-year-old kid sees, and he thinks that's normal. And so then he grows up thinking like this exceptional snowboarding is normal, and he becomes exceptional, and like that's just kind of the culture here. It's just, it's just reactionary to it's your environment. It's environmental, it's that nature.
I know that we're pushing time, that you had to wrap up here soon, but I wanted to backpedal a little bit, something that you kind of casually mentioned earlier as one of the things that was kind of something that you felt was compromising you a bit. You said reverse camber, and then you kind of moved on. What are your thoughts on reverse camber?
Well, I mean, reverse camber, whatever, it's just just an old construction that was brought back and reinvented. And, it was really just something that like, I thought, it comes back to culture, and like culture in America, we want everything a little bit easier. And so for me, you rock the contact points up and you initially take away 50% of the danger. And it doesn't make you a better snowboarder, but it made it less hooky and less grabby. And so, when kids were already kind of like working towards like, how do I get to this rail to try to do a trick? It allowed them to kind of like do that with a little less, potential for pain. And, it's just weird. It's just like soft. I mean, I like being hooked up. I like being on a side cut. I don't want to tip over to do it. I want to like lean into it and load a board. I want to release. But again, it comes a lot from, I think about like why reverse became hot again. It was because brands in the Northwest, decided to push it. And what do they ride? They ride deep, wet powder, where you have to work really hard to keep your nose up. And so in the reverse aspect in their snowboarding, it was like, oh, this is alleviating a lot of leg burn in order to ride your board. And on the flip side of that, you can potentially ride switch a little bit easier as well. I get it. But then it got flipped into this really like strange, like, whoa, you're gonna like, you can fake press, you're pressing, you know. And then the thing that really irritated me was the skateboard aspect. Like, dude, it's just like, no, it's a skateboard. And it's like, no, just because you rock the nose and tail up doesn't mean it rides like a skateboard. A real skateboard, when you think about it, you load energy to your tail, pop the tail, that energy, then you drag your front foot, helps your front foot, and you ollie. Well, that's what camber does. As you camber, you load back. Now, instead of like having to load, you know, because when you rock that point up, you have to load back even further just to get the fiberglass and or any other, you know, subsequent material to like load, wood, carbon, Kevlar, whatever you got in there to load, to snap. And we're talking about, where do I ride? Midwest. When? 80% of the time. So what do I have here? Hard pack, corduroy, ice. 100% of the time, almost 90% of the time. I know you're out there, Ice Coast. I hear you, Pennsylvania. Anyways, so like, you know, for what we ride, it's like you don't get that many powder days. You're not that worried about it. So the concept of ollie is all through loading your board. And if you have a camber, just by standing on the board, you're loading the board. You're loading the camber because the camber is trying to work against you. There's load in the board. So whether you actually load on edge, which is loading and flexing that side cut, which is a radius, down into the snow and creating a semicircle of some nature, you're loading that. And then when you come through that circle, there's a release in your tail because that's loaded. And then that helps you get to the next edge. So when you're carving, boom, 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 there's a snap, there's a power, there's a pop to that. And that's the feeling I love in snowboarding. I love that feeling.
Yep, that was a very comprehensive answer and much more than what I expected. You know, most people will just be like, reverse camber sucks. It doesn't have edge hold. Camber's awesome. So that was
no, and it's not. It's like, you know, and it's not. I mean, like, and that's why I try to temper and pepper what I say about it, because it's not about, you know, a lot of it comes down to where you ride, your style riding, and that's why, like, at the end of the day, snowboarding has so many different applications. There's so many different lines you can take. There's so much different things you can do and participate in, and different ways to participate in snowboarding. They're all great. Like, none is better than the other. Everyone's going to have their preference, and that's cool, because people should have their own preference, or generally you're shaped by where you're from or the kind of snowboarding you did or your youth, or, you know, whatever. These different perceptions, these different realities are going to kind of give you like a preference, and that's cool. Like, there's nothing wrong with that. Like, that's how people should ride, and they should play to their preference, because they should go out and participate and enjoy that participation, because that's all it is, you know. At the end of the day, that's what I'm all about. Like, do you participate? And how often and as much as you can, then fuck yeah. That's it. Like, do it.
Well, you even said it at the very beginning. Like, you'll talk to kids on skis that are on the chairlift. I know snowboarders that just won't talk to skiers, just based on, oh, nope, different than me. Not cool. I think it's rad if somebody's out there sliding on the snow.
Well, and I mean, whatever. I mean, growing up in the small town, I mean, people hate it. I mean, you know what I was saying about skateboarding and like pushing pennies. Well, I mean, when I started snowboarding, it was like it was equally as bad out on the hill. Like, kids spitting off chairlifts on you, people talking shit. Like, but at the end of the day, whatever. I get it, Nate. Like, you go out, you participate out in the winter, people are together, you're outside, cool. I'm not a big, you know, like, twin tip and all that stuff is like, I'm not into it. Like, I don't get it. It's kind of whack to me, but, you know, whatever. At the end of the day, like I said, I'm not trying to project who I am on anybody else. These are just my preferences and my perspectives from my upbringing and like how I've grown up. And, you know, I hope everybody has their own point of view, because that's the important part of life. You know, you shouldn't just be morphing into everybody else's point of view just because a lot of people feel that way or see that way. You should just come up with your own ideas and your own opinions, and, you know, hopefully they're based on experience and some intelligent thought process. But, you know,
well, sometimes it takes time to get there, and you have to go through the experience and try out the weird stuff for people too.
Well, and they're kids, dude. Like, at the end of the day, I like talking to the kids on the lift just to get their perspective, because I'm older, you know. Like, I want to hear what kids have to say. Like, I've gone through a lot of stuff, and I'm interested in like what these younger people have going on, and like, you know, and because I feel like a lot of them are kind of like taken aback that somebody older is talking to them, because they don't talk to a lot of older cats besides their parents or their school teachers or whatever. And I'm like, it's like some short chairlift ride. Like, hey, what's going on? Like, oh, you having fun? Cool. You ski? Have you tried snowboarding? You don't like it? Okay, cool. Like, oh, and like I ride at the spot Buck Hill, and a lot of the kids are speed racers. They're all spandexed up and they like speed racing, and that's cool. Like, why do you do it? Oh, you having fun? You have a meet? All right. I'm just trying to be like, hey, treat people like you want to be treated, right? Like, I'm just not trying to be a dick to people for no reason.
Right, for sure. So all that said about camber, reverse camber, are there any reverse camber or like camber combination boards in the line?
No. We just do what we call minimalist. This kid, Brendan Hayes, rode for me for a long time. And then it was funny. He was riding for Signal, and he had this he's like, damn, they sent me a Signal. And it's like flat as fuck, but I really like it for pressing on rails and stuff. And he's like, I think this is what I really like for like riding rails. It's like flat board, press is really good. You can lock in. It's sick. And that was like after he had ridden some reverse stuff and whatnot. And so I was like, oh, that's good. And I always kept that in mind, because so for what we do is like the Haro is a 2 millimeter, whether or not every board's 2 millimeter, I don't measure them all, but it's a very low cambered board, in that kind of like mentality, pressy, playful, fun. And then the Hanali's a 9 millimeter, or what, it's really just a traditional camera. I just kind of named it 9 millimeter because it sounded cool, right? Right, AJ?
Averin just gave that.
Virginia.
Averin, the angry snowboarder, just gave that board an awesome review, by the way. I'm sure you saw it.
I didn't see it yet.
Oh, yeah. I think it just came out maybe yesterday or today.
Nice. No, I'm psyched on that. That's good. I'm glad. Kids like riding. The Haro's been really strong. 52's been like our best size. And then, the Hanali I'm really excited about. The shape on it's like something I dreamt about for a long time. And I'm really psyched on the shape. And it just rides a little more edgy, and a little more poppy. It has a full triaxial glass, whereas the Haro has a blended one. And I put carbon in the nose and tail center line because, again, we talk about ollie and nollie power. I really think that center carbon stringer gives you a lot of that like pop, but doesn't mess too much with the torsional flex of the board. And then it does give you a little like residual snap and or hold on initiation and release of your carve. And I like that. And, that's all stuff I've taken from riding boards for, a lot of years. And like, for me, it's not about reinventing a snowboard wheel by any means. It's really about just delivering a product that I think is really rideable and a good platform for you, and what we've branded premium medium. And we just want to give you a platform to be able to like go out and do what you want to do on a snowboard.
Go out and pilot it.
Yeah, go out there and ride. Get it, and send your pilot maneuvers.
So as we're winding down here, AJ, did you have any other final questions?
I just wanted to say thank you, Pete. This was really awesome. You have so much to say. I feel like this could be a 2 or 3 part episode.
Well,
and I'm sure you can go on and on and on. And I appreciate you hopping in. And I think the Midwest is really rad. I want to go there at some point. I have not snowboarded in the Midwest. But my only thing I got to say about people from the Midwest that I've noticed a lot is they seem really offended by things sometimes. They seem uptight. Like I'll be really hyped on, getting a blowjob from a tranny, and they look at me like I'm a weirdo. And then I'm like, what, you've never got one before? They're amazing at it. They're really good.
I can't imagine why they'd be offended. Is that a thing up there?
Yeah, why? And it's like they're all like offended, and I don't know. So I'm just wondering if I should.
He's not offended.
I don't know. He kind of looked at me kind of weird, like, "What?
Well,
is that what you do?"
He's from Grand Rapids. It gets a little weird there.
I guess I was too weird for him. So I'm just saying.
No, yeah, no, definitely though. Like we're wound a little tighter. I'm definitely wound a little tighter than I want to be sometimes.
But they are beautiful people, and I appreciate them. So I'll just try to.
Although I would have to say,
not offend too many people.
Have you been to like the Boston zone and like that whole area?
In the Northeast?
Yeah.
They're offended before you even talk.
I haven't gotten out very much.
Okay. Well, I'm just saying, go experience. You come here, check it out, catch your vibe. Go up there in the winter, dude. Whew. Yep.
They're pissed. They're pissed before you even talk to them.
Oh yeah, I bet they're gnarly. I met people from
Ice Coast, baby. They don't call it that for nothing.
So there's one final question we like to ask most of our guests, and looking back is kind of the theme of it, right? Is what advice would you give your 18-year-old self if you could?
Good question. Yeah, I don't really have anything good for that. I just kind of like take it as it comes, and it's been a trip. And I guess I would just, I probably would say something like, it's never as good as you think it is, and it's never as bad as you think it is, and it's always just going to kind of be the same.
Hey, thanks for listening. Thanks for telling a friend about the podcast. Thanks for sharing it on social media. Thanks for using the Amazon banner ad. And thanks so much for the positive iTunes reviews. That really helps people find the podcast. Until next week, peace.
Thank you for listening to the Not Snowboarding Podcast. To hear more episodes, go to www.notsnowboardingpodcast.com.
Stuff. I think we just lost AJ again.
Yeah, he's running around with the backyard chickens.
So funny. This dude was at my mom's house. Like, my mom's been having a hard time with like her Skype and stuff, and Skype's just, it's all bandwidth and blah, blah, blah. I'm like, dude, you're not teaching me anything. I know. Like, her shit's not working. Like, fix her shit. Like, he's just almost like, dude. My mom's like, lives in Green Bay, doesn't know anything about computers. I'm just like, the PC man's there just ripping her off.
She's got the Geek Squad over daily.
Yeah, I was like, come on, Mom. And I think she just likes the company. But
AJ, you're back with us.
I don't see.
I am back.
Oh, you
Can
are.
hear me?
There you are.
Yeah, sorry, I don't know. Portland's kind of lazy. I think the internet translated over to that.
Someone just hit the G pen and chilled out.
Dude, they just got hella chill.
Vibes, dude. Yeah, vibes. I'll be in the couch. Aww.
Dude, it's crazy here. Like, people, like, sometimes I'll feel lazy and I'll be around people like, yeah, I'm not trying to work or anything. And my buddy Ron is like, how are people just okay with just not working?
Michigan Ron? I know Michigan Ron.
Yeah, I think work is fun. Work is fun.
Well, I don't know. It's just like one of those things you do. Like, because you kind of have to. Because if you're not, what are you doing?
You living in Portland.
Hanging out in the backyard, like chasing chickens around? Sick. Oh, we just talked.
Dude, they wake up every morning.